Vinesh Gadia, thank you so much for joining me today. Now, let me just tell everyone who you are. I mean, we have done many recordings together before, but for anyone that hasn't watched our conversations, you are quite possibly one of the most passionate fertility experts I have met since myself and Tracy founded IVF Babel back in 2016. And you are the founder of multiple clinics around India.
It's fine, Sarah. In fact, it's always been pleasure to interact with you and Tracy. And I think we have mutual respect for each other's passion in fertility. And when I remember when I met you first, maybe in 2015 or 16, and I could see that igniting passion in you and Tracy to help subfertile, infertile couples across the world. So it's always pleasure to interact and talk to you. And I'm looking forward.
What you have been an amazing guide and support for us actually over the years, because you always have your finger on what is new in the fertility world. You're always sending us, studies and reports, which is so important for us as well. But the last study that you sent us was kind of not directly linked to fertility, but it got us talking about fertility afterwards, which is why we decided to record this conversation today. The study you sent me was by Harvard, and it was a study, it was probably one of the longest studies that have ever existed. It was a study that took 75 years. And they basically, the aim of the study was to discover what is happiness. How can we achieve happiness? And they followed, I think it was 700, I wrote the number somewhere, don't have it in front of me, 729 men or something like that. 729 men and their families. And they looked at what makes people happy. And, if you were to ask a young person today, what is happiness? They would probably say, oh, money and fame and material things. But actually what this study showed is that true happiness comes from quality relationships. And quality relationships equal really, really good mental health, which then leads to physical health. And when you and me were discussing this recently, we were talking about the ultimate quality relationships, which, when I think about it, it's the relationships I've had with my mum and my dad, and then eventually when I had my beautiful IVF twins. So this then led to us talking about how we achieve that, and fertility and everything else. So I suppose really what I want to do today is talk to you about the connection between the study and your expertise. Can we start by talking about the fact that fertility is on the decline, isn't it? Is that true globally?
I think there are now several evidences available. Globally, the fertility rate is declining. And it's very alarming if you ask me. Even in developing country or a highly populated country like India, where we are seeing that India is just above fertility replacement rate. What does this mean? This means that maybe in a decade from now, India's population will stop growing, which is about 2 to 3 decades earlier than what it was predicted by United Nations or WHO.
Yeah.
So I think it's an alarming situation where globally the fertility rate is declining, and you see a couple of examples like country like Japan, which are struggling with declining population, very aging population. South Korea is now on the same track, and China is regretting big time the decision which was taken in 70s to control population, and there was a rule that you cannot have more than one child, and now they're regretting big time that that decision today is impacting their population growth and demography. So it's definitely a global issue.
Wow. So if that fertility is on the decline, that then goes back to our Harvard study that we looked into, which is going to affect the global happiness index as well. So why is this? And actually, I suppose what we should just say is happiness doesn't only come from father-mother relationships. You can obviously have wonderful relationships without having children, but today we're focusing on fertility, seeing as I have the expert. So why is that? Why is it on the decline, though?
So, Sarah, there are various issues, medical issues, lifestyle issues, but to keep this short and sweet, one of the most significant reason why fertility rate is declining, or we are below fertility replacement rate in most countries, is lifestyle. And if you can focus again on only on one factor, it's the age by which a couple decides to become parent. Again, I would restrict to a very simple example and on evidence-based examples. An Indian woman peaks its fertility potential at 25, at the age of 25. It's a published study. Ethnicity-wise, an Indian woman peaks its fertility potential at 25, whereas a Caucasian woman peaks at 31.
Wow.
With changing lifestyle and with emerging new trends globally and also in developing country like from where I come from in India, we all tend to marry late and then focus on our career, and we decide to become parent, which will be most likely later than of crossing our peak fertility potential age. So one single most reason why the fertility rate globally is declining is lifestyle, and one of the most significant factor is deciding to achieve parenthood very late in life.
Mm. I mean, the problem is you don't, certainly for me, I didn't think about having a family until I had established my career and I traveled and everything. It was just, it was too early in my 20s. I so wasn't ready. So what do we do? Like, because obviously we still want people to have their careers and to travel and to explore. What do we do? What do we tell the younger generation?
So if we can broaden the perspective, what options we have.
Mm.
One side, declining fertility rate will result into declining population, including in developing countries. Declining population results into declining young population and more of aging population. This impacts big time on young workforce. This impacts big time on demand, and this eventually, I mean, you ask countries like Japan and countries like Korea, South Korea, they will be able to tell this better. Eventually, this impacts global economy.
Yes.
So it's an issue which I think is important. It's alarming, and everybody needs to focus. At the same time, what options we have? Everybody's lifestyle choice, and we should respect. And we are here not being judgmental about the choice which the current generation makes. So as a fertility industry, I think we have a lot to contribute to both the global economy by addressing this declining fertility rate, and also in terms of global happiness index. If we can focus at present on what industry can contribute, is to help subfertile, infertile couple to achieve their parenthood, even if it is at later age, and also to create awareness amongst the current generation X that if they want to decide late for marriage, if they are still waiting for finding a right partner, and then want to focus on their quality of life and their career, there is an option of preserving their gametes, which is called very popularly, it is called fertility preservation. Mm-hmm. They can preserve their gametes at right time so that they can continue focusing on finding right partner and their life and career, and they can still achieve parenthood at a later age. Yeah. So both way, I think it is important, helping infertile couple to achieve their dream of parenthood. Fertility industry has lot to contribute, and also creating awareness of preserving fertility at right time, so that when they decide, the couple decide to plan for parenthood in later age, crossing their peak potential of fertility, even then they can easily achieve their parenthood.
Yes.
Both together can have a very significant impact on addressing the declining fertility rate across the world.
Finances are a huge barrier for so many men and women who are at the age where they want to have children, but they're struggling to conceive. Many look at the cost of IVF and think, well, I'm never going to be able to afford that. Are there ways that couples can achieve this? I know certainly in parts of the world you can have something, it's the refund schemes, where you sign up for 3 rounds of IVF, and then if you don't achieve a live birth, you then get a full refund. Are there things like that in India that can help with the cost of IVF?
So, Sarah, I think globally many countries have realized it, and government funds for IVF or infertility treatment, understanding that it's a need for their citizen. In many countries, including US, there are private insurance companies where there is a specific fertility insurance which has been sold to large corporate, and the corporate offers sponsoring fertility treatment for their employees. I think it's very prime time for India. 1 out of 6 couple in urban India and 1 out of 9 couples across India suffers from some kind of infertility and subfertility. So it's important. In India at present it is privately funded. It is funded by patients themselves, which of course for many it is not easy. It's difficult. So it's time that insurance companies, private insurance companies, come forward. One of the example I can quote here is Progeny, which is there in US, and to launch a product specifically for fertility, and I think that will do extremely well for both, for patients who want some help financially. Insurance can definitely help, and also for insurance companies. I think there will be millions of takers for fertility insurance in India.
Yeah, absolutely. And if, as you were saying, it's so important, the decline in fertility is crucial for the economy of the globe as well. So
yeah, I think we all need young population, we all need demand, we all need workforce, and it's a very evident fact that unless we have a good young force, it will impact economy at a later stage.
Yes, yeah. I always say that, if I could go back to not so much my teenage years, but like my early 20s, I just wish I'd been more aware of fertility. I wish there'd been more education, home testing kits, just to make it more easier for me to understand where I was at with my fertility, because I didn't know I had PCOS until quite late. But do you think like in the universities and schools that people should be educated? I know we touched on preservation there, but just about how the body works.
So, Sarah, if you ask me, the starting point is to educate or create awareness among people that infertility is a WHO classified medical disease. It's not a personal shortcoming. Once we accept this as like any other normal disease, I think we'll start talking more about it.
Yes.
And once we can accept and talk more, we can definitely create more awareness and education around taking care of reproductive health. And what I mean is that to understand in totality about reproductive health, it is simple for anybody if it is created awareness and educated well, that once you cross an age, your potential of becoming mother or parent starts declining. And so you can take an informed decision. Either you take a decision to try and achieve your parenthood around that age, or you preserve your fertility. It's just that there is a lot of silence on the topic, which I think it's very important that the time is right for all of us to create as much noise as much we can, and accept infertility as a normal medical disease, and start creating more awareness and more education around it, so that people can take informed decision and they can choose their options at right time.
Yes. And I think also in the past, you know, men, women, and certainly men, there was almost a sense of, you know, if they were finding it very difficult to conceive, that taking that leap to then go to the doctor to say there is a problem can be quite daunting, which is why, you know, with companies like Babel Fertility, where we're trying to encourage people to do home testing, to have consultations from home, it kind of eases you in a little bit more, you know, so you can take those first little steps that might, you know, I think sometimes almost people think, oh, well, I must have to have IVF because I can't conceive. Well, that's not the case. You know, diagnosis is key. Understand why you can't conceive, have these conversations, take these tests. So again, I think if I could go back in time, I would definitely have done some exploring a lot earlier.
Yeah, I think it is such an amazing work which you are doing at Babel, you and Tracy. If you can get consultation sitting at home, if you can get counseling sitting at home, if the couple can get diagnosis sitting at home, I believe being in this industry for about 30 years, I know 60 to 70% of infertility or infertile couples can be treated without IVF.
Yes.
And just in case if they need IVF, they can go to the IVF clinic and physically going, maybe it is required only 2 or 3 times. Rest can be done via digital platforms. So we are at present into a digital revolution time across the world, and this will only help couples to take their journey of fertility treatment with the comfort at home and with right information, so that all the apprehensions and all the anxieties are removed or addressed as much as it can be.
Yes. Well, I think with all the different elements that we've discussed today, I think, you know, it can certainly help couples who might have completely shut down the thoughts that parenthood is an option for them. You know, just the not knowing, the not understanding, you know, having all these different options in place is, you know, exactly what we need. And I just hope that the younger generation will be saved from a lot of the heartache that so many women and men of my age have had to go through, you know, with multiple failed rounds of IVF. I just want to sort of end our conversation by saying, what would you say is the first sort of step that a couple at home, if they are trying to conceive and it hasn't worked for, let's say, a year or 2 years, what should they do?
So Sarah, again, very simple. I don't think any couple in their journey of trying to become parent should lose hope at any given time, whether it is 1 year of trying or even it is more. I think with right information, with right selection of choice, what they have in front of you, of course, with right diagnosis, and I'm again saying every couple can and should achieve their dream of parenthood if they're on the journey. No one should lose hope, and there is right treatment available for every issues or every problem in infertility. Second, I am very, very passionate about this feeling and emotion. I mean, coming back to the Harvard study, I genuinely believe, and I have experienced this in my life, meaningful relationship probably to me or to everyone is one of the most potential way to live a very happy life. And you being mother, you will realize I have grown-up children. I am at present 50 years. I have my first child is 27-year-old now. My second child is 21-year-old now, and I know what makes me happy. The most potential aspect in my life which makes me happy is when I see my family happy, or when I can contribute to make my family happy. I think it is one of the most enriching aspect of happiness. And if we can, I mean, there's no need to analyze, but if we can assess meaningful relationships around us, of course, our parents, our friends, our colleagues, our team members, everybody is important. But a long-lasting, meaningful relationship to me is mother and child, or parents and child. It is so beautiful. I- Once we are on the journey, we realize that it's a place where you feel 100% happy to see someone happy in front of you. It is very beautiful. So I think every couple who are wanting to become parent, who are in the journey of parenthood or are trying to become parent, should never lose hope, achieve their dream, because this will be one of the most important aspect of being happy long term in your life.
Well, Vinesh, with your support, with your brilliant brains and knowledge of the fertility world, you know, and us at IVF Babel, I hope that together we can virtually hold so many hands for men and women who are struggling to conceive. And I hope that we can virtually hold their hands on their journey to parenthood.
Yeah, I think besides me, or in my current journey, I have joined a mid-sized private equity fund, Black Cap Equity Management, where we are trying to create a global fertility ecosystem. And we have this dream to help and treat 1 million couple in next 10 years to achieve the dream of parenthood. I think Babel also in the journey, but I'm saying whether it is me, you, our organization, but the whole fertility global ecosystem can contribute so much to global economy and global happiness index, which I think it's a very important igniting passion, which keeps me doing my best and contributing my best to the fertility world.
Well, you are an inspiration, Vinesh. You know, I've said that to you many a time. And I want to thank you for today. And thank you for sharing that wonderful study with me on happiness. And keep those studies, keep forwarding them to me, because I find them hugely interesting. But let's do something again soon, shall we?
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.